Greetings from the southern tip of Africa. I'm Rouvaun Smit and welcome to our Cape Racing podcast. Now, you know, there's a wonderful saying in life that goes, time and tide waits for no man. And sadly, on that note, the curtain comes down on what has certainly been a phenomenal Cape summer season. And the grand finale is always a highlight on the racing calendar. This year is no exception, as local is lekker, with Kenworth Racing playing host to the Seafood and Jazz Racing Festival, two of my favorite pastimes. I'm going to be in my element. Just the thought of it has already got me counting down how many sleeps till we get there. But let me not digress, as there are no less than 8 feature races on a 9-race program, and it promises to be a day you don't want to miss. Racing fans are in for a feast. Not just the seafood. You see, I'm thinking funny thoughts again. I'm talking about the top quality racing from start to finish, with feature after feature headed up by the Grade 1 Jonsson's Workwear Cape Derby, and culminating with the Kaya Stables Jockey versus Work Riders Challenge. So let's cast our nets and go fishing for a few winners on the card that is jam-packed with quality throughout, and I'm sure exotic players like me will be looking to hedge their perms with 2 bankers, but more about that a little bit later on when we get to it. Racing starts at 1 p.m. with the running of the Cape Racing Cape of Good Hope Nursery over 1,200 meters, a fascinating 2-year-old Grade 3 feature to kickstart proceedings. And here, 8 Trumpy is the only winner in the lineup. He was impressive on debut. He ought to have come on since then, so to me he rates the one to beat. 9 Wheel Jamming has finished second in all 3 starts, including the listed Juvenile Stakes on Met Day, so he is likely to be better suited to the extra 200 meters. Those 2, I reckon, should suffice for swingers, exactors, roving bankers in trifectas and quartets, and you'll be able to use those 2 to build a bit of a kitty for later on in the day, as there are a few carry forwards to look forward to. Race 2 is the Kenworth Fillies Nursery Grade 3 over 1,200 meters, and you need to be on by 13:35. The selection here is number 3, Body Electric, who was eye-catching when winning on debut, and with the benefit of that experience and the manner in which she won, she should improve and continue about her winning ways to remain undefeated. If you're looking to play a bit wider and not go out in the opening leg of the bipot, 4 Epsom Girl and 6 Philosophize are likely to make their presence felt with further natural improvement, and they probably rate the biggest dangers. But to me, banker number 3 in the first leg of the bipot. Race 3 is the Kettlebell Cup listed over 3,200 meters, first leg of the place accumulator. It runs at 2:10. And here I think we only need 2 to see us safely through. 1 Chrome Yellow and 2 Baybury. Now, Chrome Yellow was slightly disappointing last time out when 1.85 lengths behind Sparkling Water, but did have excuses that day. It was also the second run after a very long layoff. He stays well, will be having his peak run on Saturday. He's the highest rated and best weighted runner in the race, so he rates the one to beat. 2 Baybury finished just ahead of him in the Western Cape Stayers race on midday last time out. He's also better off at the weights, so one can expect him to pose the biggest threat to number 1 Chrome Yellow, hence the reason I'm including both of them, 1 and 2, in the opening leg of the PA. Race 4 is the opening leg of the carryover Pick 6, and it's estimated to get to 3 million rand. You need to be on by 14:45 if you want to get involved. It's the Racing 2-for-0 Jetmaster Stakes listed over 1,600 meters. Even though at first glance, number 1 Silver Operator is favorably treated by the conditions, I'm actually giving him a miss, as he remains without a win over the distance. I'm however going for 3 Fire Rally, who is a model of consistency, was third in the Premiers in his last start. That form line has subsequently been franked by Native Tongue, who came out and won the Fairview Mile, and I'm also going to include number 4 Warrior, who franked the Glomrock Queen's Plate form line when winning a Pinnacle Stakes on midday, and he certainly looks like a horse that's still on the up. Both of them are in top form. They are drawn 1 and 2 respectively, and to me, 3 Fire Rally and 4 Warrior should be the 2 to fight it out. However, it is the first leg of the carry forward Pick 6, and people would want to look a little bit beyond the obvious, so if you're wanting to go a bit wider, I would suggest include the likes of 6 Super Silvano and 7 Rock in Ringhill. Now, earlier on I mentioned the likelihood of 2 bankers on the card, the first of which is number 1 Rio Karari in race 5. the Kaya Stables Diadem Stakes over 1200 meters, first leg of the jackpot, due off at 15:20. Now many will say Rio Karari was a tad disappointing in the Grade 1 Cape flying, but there were excuses as his saddle slipped late on. He now reverts to 1200 meters, he's having his peak run, he's drawn one of the inside, he will be finishing off with his customary laced burst of speed, and to me he rates the one to beat and a confident selection to win race 5, number 1 Rio Karari. The other banker is the Cape Guineas winner, number 1 double superlative in race 6, the Grade 1 Jonsson's Workwear Cape Derby. Now, he was far from disgrace when he finished 4th in the World Sports Bidding Cape Town Met. That was against the Elder Brigade. He now takes on his own age group again over the course and distance. He's the highest rated and best treated by the conditions of the race. He is drawn in the middle of the pack, and to me he will take a power of beating. So 1 double superlative to win the Grade 1 Jonsson's Workwear Cape Derby. Moving on to race 7, the Rio Cup Grade 3 over 1400 meters, and here I'm adding in 3. 1 Princess Keller and promising 3-year-old number 6 Amamzam Toti. They are both unbeaten over the strip and likely to fight it out. But my each-way play on the day is number 4 Really Royal. She's ideally course and distance suited, she's a model of consistency, will be up handy and staying on at the finish, and I reckon she should be included as well. So 1, 4 and 6 are the numbers for race 7. Race 8 is the Bloodsucks of Africa Cape Yearling Sales Cup over 1200 meters, and this race has a wide open look about it. Because we went light earlier on, I think we can afford to load up with as many as the budget does allow. If I had to narrow it down, I'm going to include the likes of 7 Shifting Paths. Now he comes into the race as a winner without a penalty and should have come on with the experience under the belt. 4 Port Louis is the likely improver after a fair debut. I'm also looking at 15 My Mia, who has shown promise in both starts and could pose a threat in receipt of her sex allowance, and also number 6 Question Master, who is another one that was a debut winner coming into the race without a penalty, and any sort of improvement can be expected with that run under the belt. Not easy to suggest an outright winner, and with a host of first-timers in the sales race, I think the betting should also give us a good guide as to the chances of those who are making their debut in this race. So best thing, load up with as many as you possibly can in the exotics. Moving on to the last of the afternoon, which is race 9, the Kaya Stables Work Riders versus Jockeys Championship, a maiden plate to be won over 1200 meters. Now we all know that it's all about bragging rights that's up for grabs, whether it's the work riders or the jockeys that's going to take top honors. But if one sort of dissect the form, you'll see that it's not an easy way to end the day. Very tricky indeed, and again, you will need to include a few to safely see you through. Narrowing it down as we look at the runners with chances, 1 Silent War, very consistent, but that is over further, but I think has shown enough to be competitive in this sort of lineup. The same can be said about number 2 Zamzam, who fits that same profile, better over further, but comes into the race with a chance. 7 Dean Street, to me, is the improver in the race. He was slow away, he was green, he ran on debut, and with the benefit of that run under the belt, anything is possible with Anton Marcus in the saddle. And 14 Fair Advantage was another one who was slow and green on debut, but was absolutely flying at the finish, and I reckon there'll probably be more to come. It doesn't stop there. There are a number of other runners with chances, and without sounding repetitive, I suggest load up to allow yourself the opportunity to be in the winner's queue at the end of the day. What a way for the season to come to a close. Top quality racing, lots of seafood, and if you want more information about the Seafood and Jazz Racing Festival, I suggest you log on to www.caperacing.co.za. If you missed any of the selections while listening to the podcast, then go to www.goldsandgallops.com. Click on and download this week's edition, and there you'll see all the selections under commentator Smith's comments. My suggestion is, get your tickets early, bring everyone along. It's a day with something for the whole family. From high-class racing action to delicious seafood on offer, live jazz performances, buskers, loads of entertainment for the kids. You sure do want to be part of all the day's action. I'm Rouvaun Smit, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the races.